Hey everyone. Imagine turning 18, the day you're supposed to feel free, and your own father pulls you aside at your birthday party whispering, just sign the papers for Uncle Wade. It's nothing what he didn't know. I'd already moved millions into an unbreakable trust hours earlier. By morning, their greedy plan was dead. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect you, this story is going to hit you right in the chest. Stick around for the full revenge. If you've ever felt powerless while family smiled to your face and stabbed you in the back, smash that like button right now. Subscribe and drop your city and local time below. I love knowing who's listening. This one's for every quiet kid who kept receipts. Now let's go back 6 years. To the summer everything gets really started. My name is Iris Maine. I just turned 18. That summer I turned 12. Grandpa Harold picked me up in his old truck. The drive to Cedar Lake was 40 minutes of gravel roads and tall white pines that blocked the sun like silent guardians. The cabin was old, porch sagging, screen door that never latched right. It smelled like wood smoke, old books, and that sweet, nameless scent of decades of love baked into the walls. Grab the other end, kiddo, Grandpa said, lifting a rotted fence rail. We worked side by side all morning. He taught me to press my thumb into the wood. If it gives, it's done. No rush. No pressure. Just us. Inside, Grandma Vivian had iced tea and sandwiches waiting on the kitchen table. Grandpa built the year they married. Later, we sat on the porch watching the lake turn gold. This cabin stays in the family, Iris, he told me, wiping sawdust from his hands. But family isn't always blood if Stanley shows up. I was 12. I thought he was just being poetic. He wasn't. That whole summer I kept coming back. I learned every creak, every leak, every secret the cabin held. Grandma taught me to organize books by color because it makes the room feel warmer. Grandpa showed me the iron property markers he'd hammered in himself decades ago. Back home in Ridgemont, the air felt different. Our house was fine. 3 bedrooms, a yard that needed mowing, Dad's garage office for his struggling building supply store. My sister Kelsey had the bigger room, freshly painted lavender. My room still had the old carpet. At dinner, when Dad brought up selling the cabin for tax reasons, I spoke up. Grandpa said it stays in the family. Dad laughed, not mean, but dismissive. You were 12, Iris. He was being nice. The conversation moved to Kelsey's debate trophy. My science fair ribbon stayed in my backpack. Later, I found the glossy Ridgeline development flyer hidden under grocery lists. With a handwritten phone number that wasn't Dad's, someone was already counting dollars on my grandparents' memories. 2 years later, Grandpa died. I was 14, sitting at his funeral, holding his blue plaid handkerchief that still smelled like pine. At the reception, I overheard Uncle Wade and Dad whispering near the desserts. We should move on this before probate gets complicated. They were talking about the cabin at his funeral. I said nothing. I had no power, but Grandpa had already planned for that exact moment. 2 more years passed. Grandma got sick fast. At her bedside, she gripped my hand with surprising strength. The cabin is yours, Iris. Don't let them take it. Promise me. I promise, Grandma. After she passed, Dad sat at our kitchen table with visible relief. Now we can finally sort out the property. That night I heard him on the phone with Wade in the garage, voice light. Let's get it moving. My grandmother's death wasn't grief to them. It was an opportunity. Something hardened in my chest. I didn't cry. I made a quiet decision. Between 16 and 18, the cabin became my rebellion. Every Saturday I drove out in my beat-up Honda, patching screens, replacing weather stripping, sweeping pine needles off the roof, exactly how Grandpa taught me. At home, the cabin was no longer Grandpa's place. It was the family asset. Wade started coming over with folders and real estate listings. When I mentioned Grandma's wish, Mom gently corrected me like I was a child. Your grandma was emotional at the end, sweetie. This is business, business. That word replaced love in our house. One November afternoon at the cabin, I found a sealed envelope in Grandma's handwriting behind old quilts. Inside, Margaret Caldwell's business card for the Maine Family Trust. My hands shook with recognition. She knew I'd be the one cleaning closets, not them. Me. 3 months before my 18th birthday, Margaret called first. Her office smelled like old paper and coffee. She laid it all out. Irrevocable trust, cabin savings, investments, roughly $2.1 million. Sole beneficiary, me. My grandparents had transferred everything while alive. It never entered probate. Dad and Wade had zero claim. Grandpa's words through Margaret. My sons will sell that cabin before the funeral flowers wilt. And someone had already been making inquiries at the county recorder's office. I started paying quiet attention. The next Sunday I overheard Wade in the garage. I already signed the purchase agreement with Ridgeline for $450K. We need the title clean. They planned a quit-claim deed, assuming they were heirs. Wade brushed off my future concerns. She'll get over it. We'll give her 50 grand for college. She should be grateful. 50K out of 450K. For the girl whose grandparents actually loved her. That night I texted Margaret. They're accelerating. She replied, I expected that. Come see me Saturday. Margaret laid out the battle plan. On my 18th birthday I'd accept successor beneficiary status. She'd file a lease pendants at 8 a.m. the next morning. Freezing the title, Dad announced my birthday party with a big smile. Whole family. Big celebration. I smiled back. Because in 9 days they would learn the cabin was never theirs to sell. Sitting in my room those final nights was torture. Part of me wanted to scream the truth. But I stayed silent. Have you ever had to stay quiet to protect yourself when every cell in your body wanted to explode? Tell me in the comments. 5 days before my birthday, Mom gave me the responsible adult talk about selling for Dad's debts and college funds for both of you. 3 days before, Wade cornered me in the driveway with his big fake smile and the same $50 K offer. Whose name is on the deed, Uncle Wade? His smile flickered. The night before my birthday, I drove to the cabin alone, sat on the porch under a half moon, read every document Margaret sent, signed at midnight on video call with her. Tears came quietly. Not because I was winning, but because I wished my parents had been the kind of people who would never make me do this. The birthday party, the setup, the party was perfect on the surface. Balloons, cake, 20 guests. Nora Beckett from next door to the cabin watched everything with sharp eyes. In my jacket pocket was the signed acceptance form. Dad stood up, glass in hand. As a family, we have exciting plans. We're selling the cabin to secure everyone's future. He looked straight at me. Iris understands. Right, sweetheart? The room went dead silent. I set my fork down. The clink echoed. I never agreed to sell the cabin, Dad. After guests left, the real confrontation began in the kitchen. Mom accused me of not loving the family. Dad threatened to kick me out on my 18th birthday if I didn't cooperate. I stood up, voice steady despite shaking hands. I am part of this family. I'm the part that keeps promises. I went upstairs knowing their 9 a.m. plan was already doomed. 45 the revenge. Execution 8 a.m. Margaret was first through the recorder's office doors. Lisp's pens is filed. Title frozen 8:30 a.m. Dad and Wade left the house in their business clothes, confident. I told them good luck with a small smile. 9:05 a.m. Wade slid the quit-claim deed across the counter. The clerk's words hit like a hammer. I can't record this. The property is held in the T-Main Family Irrevocable Trust since 2020. There's a Liz pendants filed this morning. Wade's face drained of color. Dad turned to him slowly. You said this was simple. Margaret watched them leave without saying a word. She didn't need to. 9:22 a.m. Dad called me from the parking lot, voice shaking with rage. What did you do? I accepted what Grandpa and Grandma left me. You went behind our backs, not because they didn't love you, Dad, because they didn't trust you. The silence after that was deafening. Then Ridgeline Development called. Wade had guaranteed clean title and signed a contract with a 45K penalty clause. They were coming after him hard. Climactic payoff that afternoon. Greg came home broken. The bank was about to take their house. The store was gone. The cabin was supposed to be their salvation. When he slammed the table and said he'd contest the trust, Margaret's voice came through my speakerphone. Contesting this will cost you more than the property is worth. For the first time, Dad looked at me with recognition, not as his daughter, but as the person who had outplayed him. Wade's world collapsed. Lawsuit from Ridgeline. Forged notary stamp under criminal investigation. Real estate license suspended. Reputation destroyed. In their small town, the dominoes kept falling. Public records. Gossip at the diner. Everyone knew. Harold and Vivian's granddaughter had stopped her own father and uncle from stealing her inheritance. Reflective wrap-up. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exhausted, but I also felt free. Weeks later, I found Grandpa's letter in the cabin desk. I chose you not because you're perfect, but because you asked about the roof before the price. Take care of it. It took care of you first. I moved into the cabin, started college nearby, rebuilt my life on solid ground. Kelsey started visiting. We ate pizza on the porch and talked about herons instead of betrayal. My relationship with my parents is careful, respectful distance. I told them I loved them, but love doesn't mean letting people take what isn't theirs. Early one June morning on the porch, watching mist rise off Cedar Lake as a loon called across the water, I finally understood. I didn't get revenge. I got justice. Peace doesn't come from destroying others. It comes from standing on something solid that was built for you with love. If you feel alone, Remember, sometimes the people protecting you planned for you years before you needed it. All you have to do is show up and keep the promise. What would you protect with your life? A place, a person, a promise? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this story gave you that cathartic rush of justice, smash like, subscribe for more raw revenge stories, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Check the description for the next video. Thanks for being here. You're not alone.